Maybe you saw different words that just spoke to you as you were watching that video, different words that appeared. But I want to share 4 really quick one-line scriptures and see if you can see what is the one common denominator in all of them. Matthew 28:4, and for fear of him, the guards trembled and became like dead men. We heard that this morning. Matthew 28:5, but the angel said to the women, do not be afraid. Matthew 28:8, so they departed quickly from the tomb with fear. Matthew 28:10, then Jesus said to them, do not be afraid. So I think you probably figured that one out already, right? The opposite of hope, as we just saw in the video, is fear. And we know Easter is supposed to be this time of joy and hallelujahs and flowers and music and celebration. And even as it looks a little different today, that we're distanced and we're wearing the dumb masks and we're doing all that kind of stuff that, oh, I'm so tired of this. Yet there still is the one true hope, right? That no matter how things change in our lives, that Jesus never changes. So let's think about that for just a minute, that even the very first Easter began with fear. So here's a working definition of fear. See what you think about this. False evidence appearing real. Fear is false evidence appearing real. I kind of like that. I didn't make that up, but I ran across it, and I like that. False evidence appearing real. That's fear. And what was the false evidence on Easter? Well, again, we know that Jesus was pretty much dead. Well, no, was, right, for several days. His ministry over, his movement finished, his cause done, all hope gone. Easter begins with fear, doesn't it? Great fear, false evidence appearing to be real. So the goal of this sermon is to replace fear with faith. Jesus, our Redeemer, creates beauty from ashes. Just always remember that. Even if you're in a pile of ashes and you just say, how on earth can something good come out of this? Remember that Jesus has done that before, and he's probably done it in your life already, and he's going to continue to do that. Now, I don't mean to diminish, again, the very real trials and tribulations and just plain horrible things, let's be honest, that can happen to us and our loved ones any day in this world. Again, thinking about the last year of all the different trials, right? Pandemic, one of them, but many other things that we've all been through, individually and collectively as a society. So again, think about those things. Name those in your head, all the stuff that just went wrong this year for you or for us. But then think about some of the things now that you worried about, that you were fearful of, and name those in your head. How many of those things actually came into fruition? How many minutes of your life did you waste in fear of those things that didn't happen? And even if they did, that you were able to make it through, again, with Jesus beside you. There's a Swedish proverb, in fact, I have it on my vision board at home, and it says, worry often gives a small thing a big shadow. Worry often gives a small thing a big shadow. I come from a very, very good line of worriers. And so it's very, my immediate reaction is to worry about something, But again, then you look back and you think about all the things that I worried about, that they're really, there wasn't, by worrying, how did it help me? Some of the things did come true, absolutely. And some of them are horrible, for each of us, right? But yet, worrying about it didn't help us any. In fact, if nothing else, it sucked us of the joy of living when things were good, or when, the things that we were worried about didn't come true. So there's just no real answer to it, is there? Well, there is Christ. Fear attacks us with 2 words, what if, right? What if I don't close the sale? What if I don't get that bonus? What if she doesn't love me? And then sometimes things spiral, don't they? Kind of tongue-in-cheek, I was thinking, what if my kids have crooked teeth? What if they had crooked teeth and that keeps them from friends and from a career and a spouse? What if they end up unemployed, sitting on a street corner, holding a cardboard sign that says, my parents never fixed my crooked teeth, right? So then we go, well, I better take care of that right now then. I'm going to worry about that right now, right? And sometimes we can do that. We can think of one small decision and think that it's going to change the course of history because of this thing, and then we have such angst over it instead of praying about it, and then moving forward in faith that God is going to be right beside us. Fear twists us into emotional pretzels. It really does. And we physically can get sick from that, can't we? Makes our blood pressure rise or our headache. And we sometimes numb our fear with six-packs or food binges or too much TV. Or we express our fear with volcanic anger or silent stares. And you know, if you're dealing with somebody who's angry, a lot of times, if you really look at it, it just comes from fear. Did you know that 5 times in Matthew's gospel, Jesus says that he would rise from the dead? 5 times Jesus told them point blank, I must go to Jerusalem, suffer many things, be killed, and on the 3rd day be raised. 5 times he said that. Still, the disciples chose fear over faith. They abandoned Jesus on Thursday. Only one stood up by the cross on Friday. And on Sunday, they all hide behind locked doors for fear of the Jews. It's easy to choose fear, isn't it? False evidence appearing real over faith. So would you rather live by faith? I'm assuming we all would say yes, right? Then here's the angel's promise for you. He is not here, for he has risen, just as he said. And again, just as he said, Jesus set everything up. We talked about this in our Wednesday night Bible study last week, that everything was set up for a purpose, every single thing. And that his life wasn't taken. Remember what the scriptures say. He gave up his spirit. He willingly decided when that was the time. Nobody took that from him. We can trust what Jesus says. Jesus says, I took away your sin, I conquered death, and I'm alive bodily and eternally, and I'm coming again to perfect your body and to restore the entire creation when you come with me to heaven. Fear be gone. Live by faith. And again, do you know what's the most frequent command in the Bible? You're probably going to figure this out, right? Because you know where I'm heading with this. What instruction, what order is given repeatedly by prophets, by angels, and apostles, by Jesus? And again, maybe you would think, oh, be good. That's an important thing, probably in the Bible a lot. Or be holy. Maybe don't fall asleep during the sermon. I don't know. Maybe that should be in there, but probably isn't. The most frequent command in the Bible is do not fear. The most frequent command in the Bible, do not fear. And it's 365 times. Isn't that kind of cool? 365 times. Once for one day, or for each day of the year, to be reminded. Because think about it. Today we are celebrating an event that over 1 billion people around the world are gathering this day to celebrate. Whether they're in their building or whether they're watching virtual, we are all worshiping the one Christ together. It's an event rooted in time and history, but yet timeless in its impact. It's like a stone thrown. Think about those of you who go up to cabins or you've got a lake, right? Picture a serene lake. Everybody has that, whether it's in Canada or down here, right? Everybody can picture that. And then picture that stone that's thrown in there, and then all the ripples that continue to expand. That's what this event was, this resurrection of Jesus. For years of prophecy were revealing that God had higher plans for human history. Isn't that a good thing for all of us? Thank God. And at one definitive point in time, one entered into the fulfillment of that prophecy. One whose authority bowed to no one, but to the Creator and Father of all that had come before. One came to preach the new kingdom, the kingdom of God, not a political order, but the very reign of God over the powers of evil. Lives around him were filled with hope. But the climax of this surprised them all, right? Suddenly a triumphant entry into Jerusalem. We've been talking we all Lent about this Places of the Passion, we've been going to different places, physically researching those, right? And so we know from Bethphage on into Jerusalem, there was this triumphal entry. But then it all led to what appeared to be tragedy. Talk of suffering and betrayal and arrest, a trial filled with mockery, and then a most hideous crucifixion. And there in the grave, their hopes were sealed with a stone. But again, early on that third day, the dawn revealed the power of God beyond anything that anyone had ever known. Only now they began to understand the cross. God hadn't lost to the opposition, but used the opposition to reveal the opportunity. The defeat was actually a door, and they entered it. The tragedy part of a triumph, and they shared in that. The ultimate sacrifice had released the ultimate power, and they could embrace that. So the Easter celebration is simply this. We live in a world in which God gets the last word. Just remember that. Whatever stones have sealed your hopes, I pray that you know God's power to move them. Even stones of uncertainty, for those of you searching. Our lives are in a constant flux, and again, just look around. We know things are not normal. And as much as we would love them to be, they're not going to be normal for a little while still, for lots of different reasons. If nothing else, this past year has taught us that change is part of life, and that most times we don't have control over that change. But we can control how we react and live with the changes that are thrust upon us. And we can do our best to replace fear with faith. For some things never change and will never change, right? I firmly believe, and I hope that you do in the very bottom of your soul, that evil may win a battle or two, but love wins the war. Love always conquers. The tomb will always be empty. God's love for you will always be eternal. The stone is rolled away. Christ is risen. Christ is risen indeed. Amen.